do it live. Okay. We'll do it live.
Drop the mic with Jason Hunt.
The golf. So we used to live up in Michigan. Not so far from you, and then we decided that Lake Michigan's beautiful in the summer. In the winter, it just means lots of clouds, and we decided the sun and the warmth beat the snow and the cloudiness.
We got hammered with almost like a couple feet here where I live, which is just outside of about an hour and a half west of Toronto. And
okay.
it's I personally don't mind the snow. I like the snow. Unfortunately, my kids play hockey, so it requires a lot of driving, which is a bit of a problem sometimes in the winter. True. But it's all right. So what drove you down to Alabama? Was it just to get out of the cloudy skies and cold weather?
Yeah, a couple of years ago, my wife had said, hey, her birthday's in January. And she's like, I really want to spend my birthday someplace sunny. And I said, oh, okay, cool. So we went down to Florida, rented the Airbnb, stayed down there for a few weeks and just had a great time. I admittedly went down under protest thinking I don't really want to do this, but I loved it as well and really liked the sunshine. And then we started looking at some property in Florida and kind of did a gulp. That's really Florida, super expensive. And we had gone through Alabama on our way down because we'd kind of taken a circuitous route. And we said, let's go back to Alabama. We wanted to be in northern Florida anyway. And so we're 10 miles off the Gulf. We're about 20 miles from Pensacola, Florida. I'm about 20 miles from Mobile, Alabama. And it's just a beautiful area. Great weather, incredible shrimp right off the shrimp boats, and much, much less expensive than Florida. So
now, going back to 1995, is that where you were still in Michigan when you started your whole journey?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Let's go in the time machine. Go back to 95. What were you doing? What got you into the whole internet space?
In 1995, I was actually working for an IT services company, and we saw, wow, this web stuff was pretty cool, and maybe we should get in on it. And I remember, as an IT services company, we had one of the local regional airports in our area reach out to us and said, well, it's an international, but regional international airport. And they said, hey, we need a website. Can you help us? And my boss came to me and said, I think we could do this. If you can sell it, I'll go ahead and hire whoever we need to make it happen. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. So we mocked up some presentations. We were a marketing focused agency. So we mocked up some PowerPoint presentations and things like that and said, based on what you want, here's what we recommend. And the airport said, great, let's do it. And I remember I walked back to my boss and I'm like, okay, you got to hire somebody to do that. So sold my first website off of a PowerPoint slide deck. And then that kind of began from there. I spent the next 10 years, or not quite 10 years, but 7 years, I guess, in IT sales and selling IT stuff. And then from there, decided to get more into the marketing side of it. And 2010, fast forward, I founded my first agency after working for a number of other people. My wife said, I'm sick and tired of you telling me that you've got better ideas. Let's go ahead and prove it. And so we did. And we started an agency. We're totally blessed and went super well. Ended up with a team of about 15 people, plus or minus a couple, depending on the year, and grew that to well over 7 figures. And then in 2023, when ChatGPT kind of added this interface into OpenAI, I really started using it. And as an ADD visionary entrepreneur, which is kind of where I fit, I found AI really helped me a ton. So I actually stepped away from the agency in 2023 and started an AI consultancy focused on helping people and specifically agencies learn how to use AI to get more done in less time, increase profits, and provide more value. And fast forward another year, my wife, who owned the agency with me, sold that in this past summer. So yeah, life's been a whirlwind, but a lot of fun.
There's a lot to unpack there. First of all, because I can understand the desire to abandon the agency space for the shiny thing passing by, which is AI. I totally empathize with that. Even us, we're in this space now. We're developing our own AI tools.
Mm-hmm.
So naturally, it's very easy for me to want to kind of leave this thing I've been doing for almost a decade now and go into, the AI side of it. But at the same time, and just to give some context, we were at an expo a couple weeks ago promoting our AI tool. And it's a bunch of different conversations I'm having with different people I typically don't talk to, and majority of them are
Sure.
IT people. They're IT people. So it's a great segue for you having that history in IT to kind of
Mhm.
come back full circle to having these same kind of conversations with software
Yeah,
engineers and IT people, right?
very much. Very
Mm.
much.
Except you need to dumb it down because I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, your target audience would be the business owners that are looking for some guidance into AI, not necessarily the AI professionals.
Yeah, I tend to work a lot more with, again, those business professionals that are like, okay, this AI thing's not going away. How do I use it? How do we use it within our teams? How do we use it responsibly? And oftentimes, how do we get away from all the theory and how do we actually take a look and do things that impact our business and our customers positively? And so that tends to be my focus. I don't do the app development. I'm really focused on, look, how can we help your business leverage these AI tools, because most business owners, as you know, are confused. There's lots of tools. Which ones do they use? And so that's really where our focus is. And most of our clients, I have a lot of clients in the agency space because I spent so many years there. So I know a lot of agencies, but a lot of what we do is just working with the same clients that you probably work with, but helping them figure out, again, do we use ChatGPT? Do we use Claude? Do we use Gemini? How do we use it? How do we tell our team to use it? Where do we use it? And then a lot of times it's helping them understand that we have a core belief, or I have a core belief, that AI is not actually going to take all these jobs away. It is going to certainly displace some workers, but it's going to create a lot of opportunities as well. And so helping these companies and organizations understand, if AI displaces some of your staff, how can we then leverage them in other areas to help grow the business or grow the organization?
Can you give a tangible example of a specific business that you went into, leveraged your expertise, your strategy to do exactly what you just said?
Yeah, so an example would be another agency that we worked with. They had a team of 5 writers that they were working with, and helping using AI best practices and all that. We were able to show them how they could train things to sound like their client, to reflect that. And now they're down to 1 writer. So they have 4 extra writers that they didn't need any longer. And they actually moved those writers into other roles in their organization to help expand their own internal marketing. I think, like so many agencies, we often get caught where we're not doing our work because we're so busy doing client work. And they pivoted them. They weren't all necessarily professional writers. They were just marketing folk, and help them work to grow their agency. And I don't have the most recent numbers, but at the end of the year, I chatted with them, and they had grown their agency by somewhere between 30 and 40% last year, just by able to move some of those bodies around. And of course, by now having some better systems to follow.
That's brilliant, and it's such a, you're absolutely right, because as an agency you never spend enough time on yourself and promoting yourself. You're always spending doing a lot of client work. So for us, for our copywriters, we didn't fire our copywriters, we just amplified them with the likes of ChatGPT to
Exactly.
churn out more content for our clients, right? As an SEO company, we're churning out lots of content, so it's churning out more content in the same amount of time or less time. You finish what you can do in
Yeah.
4 days, take Friday off, so.
And that's been a big part of the discussions too. It's not always about how do we leverage this to get more work done. We will get more work done, but sometimes it's giving your team the opportunity to breathe. Because rarely in the agency space have I ever met teams that had more time than they did tasks. It was always the other way around. They had more work to do than they had time. And AI sometimes gives us that ability to just give us enough breathing room that we can actually focus and do a better job on our tasks, deliver better to our clients, reduce churn because they feel more tender, loving care. They see a better quality product. We get a better result for them. And as a result, we can reduce churn as well.
Have you come across a client that was resistant to change? And if so, how do you overcome,
Mm.
the resistance to change and adapting?
So a lot of the clients that I've been working with have been great. They've been early adopters. They've been people that were excited to work with it. But within the agency space, because I know so many, having been in that business for a long time, I ran into and still run into tons of them that are like, nope, we're not going here. We're not going to take that route. I've definitely seen a bit of a shift in that towards the end of 2024. As we record this in early 2025, we've seen that a lot of those agencies that were kind of like, we're not going there, are now like, okay, I guess we are going to go there. How do we do that now? Those that are resistant to it, I think originally, especially on the agency space, where they just weren't sure how this whole AI content in particular, as we're in the agency space, how that was going to work, how that was going to be taken care of. they were seeing, as you probably saw when AI first came on board, there were a lot of people creating just mountains of content, and most of it stunk because it wasn't being trained well, it wasn't being vetted, it wasn't being optimized. And they're like, we don't want that. That's bad for the business. And I had a lot of discussions about how that's one way you can use AI, but that's not the best way to use AI. And here's how we can use it to help actually create better quality content for your customer, to do more, bring them more value by maybe getting, instead of having one drip campaign, why don't we create 4 that is segmented amongst your users so that we can have a better job and get, better response out of those clients? Because if we can increase the conversion rate without having to spend more time on the project than we're doing right now, we can bring more value to the client. And if we can bring more value to the client, when their brother-in-law decides they're going to get in the web design business or in the marketing business or whatever, they're much less likely to go and say, oh, I'm going to go work with somebody else, because they're feeling that love from their current vendor. One of my favorite books out there in the marketing space is that churn happens because, in most cases, because people just don't feel like they're cared for. And I think AI, believe it or not, helps us address that, because it gives our teams time to show our clients a little bit more and demonstrate that we care.
I think one of the biggest pushbacks we got when we started, implementing the new SOPs was the lack of transparency, authenticity,
Yes.
and that human touch. So what are your thoughts on that? Obviously, things have improved quite a bit from inception, but there is still that question about the lack of human touch in AI created content.
I think there's really 2 parts to that fit in my mind. One is, we need to understand that you can't totally remove the humans from the process. AI is a tool that amplifies our skill and experience. It doesn't replace that. I'm not a heart doctor, and if you ever would allow me to operate on you, you'd be an idiot, because I'm not. I could use ChatGPT to play like I'm a heart doctor and a cardiologist, and probably seem reasonable, believable, but it would still not be there because I don't have any skill and experience. But if a cardiologist actually used AI, they could just vault ahead of where I'm at, because they have that skill and experience. So I think first step is understanding that AI is a collaborator. It's not a replacement for us as humans. The second part, to me, especially as we talk with agencies or even a local business, is understanding that we need to train the AI on who you are, who your clients are, so that it can reflect their tone, their style, their brand, and the things that are important to them. And when we got started, I think so many people last year in 2024 were so excited about, oh my goodness, I can actually write blog posts and not have to slave over these, or I can write social media posts. And we didn't spend enough time, in many cases, thinking about, is this relevant to our client? Is this relevant to the audience they want to reach? And is it helpful? Going back to just Google's desire to have helpful content. And we just created content because we thought that was going to work. And it did for a little while. And we've seen that content alone is now not enough. It needs to be helpful content. It needs to add value to your audience. And so I think the second part of that is really just learning to train AI effectively, so that, if you're working for clients, it reflects your client. If it's for yourself and your business, that it reflects your tone, your style, your brand. And it's not hard to do, but it's a step that so many people miss.
So getting into that conversation on the how you can personalize it, is this a segue into the conversation around prompting?
It certainly does. Absolutely.
Yeah. So what are some I guess best practices for a small business owner looking to leverage ChatGPT to personalize their brand voice and their branding?
2 things I recommend. One, before you get worried on much else, focus on one tool alone. Don't try to find every tool out there. There's plenty of time to find specialty tools, and there's some amazing specialty tools out there. But day one, don't worry about that. Just start with ChatGPT. It's simple, it works. And go out, and if you haven't already in your business done any type of personality testing, I know a lot of businesses, will run personality tests on their team. If you've got those, use them. If not, go take a free personality test at a site like 16personalities.com, and it's going to give you your personality type. In that case, it's a Myers-Briggs. When I can go back to ChatGPT and go, okay, my personality is an ENTJ. That doesn't mean a whole lot when you and I are talking, but ChatGPT knows literally reams of information about what it means to be an ENTJ. And so now when I say, I want you to write this in the style of an ENTJ, it's going to change the words it's used, the style that it does. It's not going to change the entire thing. It's not like it's going to write a different opinion piece, but the way in which it's written is going to change. This becomes even more helpful as we're doing things like video scripts and things like that to be able to create things that sound right. So step one, stick with ChatGPT. Step two, go train it. And then step three is don't fall victim for the, for $9.97, you can buy my 10,000 prompts that I have available. They're fine. I mean, we actually are putting out a prompt list literally next week. My team's working on it right now. Not because I think they're incredibly valuable, but my audience keeps saying, can you please share all your prompts? You've shared so many prompts. Can you give us a library? Yes, we're going to give you the library. But what normally happens is, we get that email and, 10,000 prompts or 387 or whatever the number is just for your industry. So if you're a chiropractor, it's, hey, it's just for chiropractors. And we buy that. Well, then the problem is when we want to prompt it, we start looking through this list and it takes way too long to go through 387 different prompts to find the one you want, only to realize it probably doesn't apply to you anyway because it needs to be customized. So we encourage you, step three, use a prompt framework. And the prompt framework we recommend is really simple. It's 4 steps. Tell ChatGPT what type of expert it is. Number 2, give it background information. Just like if you and I are working together, Jason, we're working on a project. I'm not just going to come to you and let's say we're writing a press release. You go, write a press release, and I'm going to turn around and walk away. Because even if you're an expert at writing press releases, you're not going to be able to write one that fit what I was desirous of because I didn't give you any relevant background information.
Mm-hmm.
Third step, tell it what we want, which is write that press release. And then the 4th step, I think, is actually the most impactful. We need to understand that AI models have been designed to make assumptions and fill in the blanks. That's great when it comes to not sounding like a 3-year-old and annoying us as a user, but it's really rotten when it comes to giving us the best possible response because sometimes, just like humans, it assumes the wrong thing. So the 4th step in the process is ask me any clarifying questions you have. So when I do a prompt, let's say, again, I want to write a social media post for my business. It's, you're an expert copywriter who specializes in writing social media posts that engage the audience. I'm a chiropractor in Toronto, and I want to reach athletes in the area who are suffering from back pain. I would like you to write me a series of 3 social media posts that I could use on LinkedIn or on Facebook or wherever to reach that audience and to talk about the value of chiropractic and alleviating their pain. Please write those 3 blog posts and ask me any clarifying questions you have. When we do that, we go from write me a social media post for a chiropractor to something that's going to create some amazing content that in all likelihood, we can go out and spend 2 to 3 minutes editing and be ready to go because we gave it the relevant information. And unfortunately, that's where I think most people miss it. They start by saying, well, I'm a chiropractor. Let's go write a blog post or a social media post. And it writes it. And we go, well, that was really kind of blah. And it's because we didn't give it any information.
Yeah. And one of the things I love to do is when I speak on stage about this stuff, I always poll the audience and ask how many people here use ChatGPT. Everybody has their hands up. And then I say, how many people are using the paid version? 80% of the people's hands go down.
Isn't that amazing?
Isn't it amazing? And to think that everybody here thinks they're getting unique content churned out by ChatGPT when they ask it, probably the same thing that's been asked it a billion times, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you can't leverage, using the custom GPTs, uploading documents, uploading your MBTI personality test, which I love. That's a great idea. Fantastic,
yeah.
right?
What a massive difference it makes.
100%. I mean, some other, like I personally myself, I have my personal ghostwriter, which I upload my book transcript to. It knows everything there is to know about me. It knows the tone of writing that it needs to be in when I'm writing an email or whatever. Because I'm a terrible copywriter, so I've always leaned on my ChatGPT to rewrite my emails for me in my tone, which is very
one of my
important.
favorite uses.
But one thing I have noticed, though, and I realize this, is that when you become so dependent on it, it stifles your creativity. It kind of does to a point, because I was sitting there, I was on a flight to London, and I didn't have the Wi-Fi access, which I was hoping to have to write some blog content, and so I had to use good old-fashioned pen and paper, and I had writer's block for about an hour. Just couldn't even write any thoughts down because I become so reliant on ChatGPT. What are your thoughts on that?
It's interesting. I've heard other people talk about that. I actually find it, for me at least, it goes the other way around. It frees me up to have more time to be creative than what I
Ah,
had. Now, again, that may just be me, but I found, as a guy who literally did get diagnosed with ADD at 43 years
mm,
old, I found that so often I had ideas and I didn't have the time to actually get them to try things out because there were so many things that I was trying to get done. AI allows me to do things faster. Writing emails is a great example. I love to use it to help me write better emails because I can say, here's what I wanted to say to Jason, and it will then write that in a way that's better. It's especially good on the occasional one where you need to set good boundaries and do that nicely, but not be rude about it. ChatGPT is just very, very good at that. But I find, again, when it comes to creativity, it gives me more time because I don't have to spend as much time on those busy tasks that take up so much of our day as a business owner. I now have more time then to think about it and go, okay, I had an extra 20 minutes today to brainstorm about this idea that I had, or to launch this new service, or to talk about a better way to address our clients. Or, we took a look just yesterday at our onboarding when we do trainings, and evaluated some things that we could improve based upon that to make that a better experience. We all know those are important things to do, but the reality is, just because we know it's important, oftentimes things that are urgent but less important beat that out, and we never
mm.
get to those important things. And so for me, I found that I think my creativity's gotten better because I have actually some time to sit back and go, okay, I can talk about this or think about this for a moment. So again, I get where you're coming from, but I found it just the opposite for myself.
It would be fantastic if we grab Stephen Covey's 4 quadrants and the 7 habits of highly effective people and have everything in quadrant 1, which is urgent and important, to be done by AI.
Oh, wouldn't that be amazing?
Just everything in that quadrant, just AI it. And a lot of that can be AI'd, whether it's,
Oh, and that's it. A
automated.
lot of, yeah, exactly. A lot of it can be, not all of it, but a lot of it absolutely can be. And that's where it gets exciting. I love taking a look at those repeatable tasks that we or our teams are doing on a regular basis and going, okay, how can we combine AI and some automation together? And with the new agentic AI and the agents they're coming out with, this is becoming a reality literally today, that we can do that. An example that I was just given today that I didn't even think of is, we'd written a new email campaign for one of our services. And the next step is, well, my team takes it and they put it into our Go High Level marketing automation system, and we run with it. And they said, you realize with, the new agentic stuff from ChatGPT, just tell it to go do that. And as long as it can get your account, it'll go create the campaign. And I'm like, you're kidding me, really? So we're
When you
actually
say
testing
agenics,
that out right now.
when you say agenics, you mean operator?
Yeah, operator. Yeah, exactly.
Operator. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't even know. I checked the other day. It's not even available in Canada yet. So,
Oh, let's see.
how
One of the few benefits of living in the U.S., right?
yeah, right. So can you be specific in terms of how exactly the use case that you're using operator to connect the dots?
So we're literally testing this one right now because I
Got
had, it was one of those, hang on, I never thought of that. So, we used AI to write an email drip sequence. I spoke at an event yesterday. We gave away a free bonus at the event I was speaking at. Now I've got about 400 people that are new into my ecosystem, so to speak, new leads, people that gave us their email in order to get that free bonus. And I want to put them into a nurture campaign to figure out, how do I get them to know, like, and trust us better so that some of them can become clients. And no big deal. We created the drip email campaign. That was all done in traditional format. I gave it to my team and said, all right, go set it up in high level so that we can get this all set up. And I was literally doing, in your seat this morning, interviewing somebody on my podcast, and they're like, you realize that you can use that to do that in ChatGPT? And I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, just tell it to go do so. It'll ask for your logins, but once it's got your logins, it'll actually literally be able to go in and do that. So I sent that to my team and said, hey, I don't know if this will work or not. So I can't promise it's going to work, but the guest I was interviewing said, absolutely, they've done it. So we're going to try that out, because think about that time savings. If I could not only create that, and I'm not going to have it schedule it because I still want a human involved to look at things. I mean, there is a trust factor, and I feel a responsibility to make sure you're doing the right thing. But if just that manual task of copying and pasting over from ChatGPT or from a Google Doc into high level and scheduling that out at the right time, if we had an agent that could go do that via operator from ChatGPT, that now, even if it takes it 20 minutes to do it, it's 20 minutes
it.
that the computer can do the work and my team doesn't have to.
Mm-hmm. 100%. So that's interesting. So in terms of the automation piece with the nurture, that's so high level obviously has, their integration. So you're integrating chat GPT with high level. Do you use any of the AI agent chat stuff via high level?
We've used some of it. We don't do a ton of it in our agency, but again, being in the agency world, I know a lot of agencies that are doing that, and different systems that plug into that. Some are using native stuff right in high level. Some are using third-party systems like CloseBot that works really well with high level. So I think it just depends on what your hopes and desires are. My opinion on most of the bots right now is that they do a good job. They need to be trained well. But probably most importantly for us is if you're an agency owner, it's important to set your client's expectation as to how well they're going to work, because clients seem to have this anticipation that, wow, I could put a bot in place and I won't need to do anything. Well, no, you still need to do things, but you can definitely do things to let that customer know at 2 a.m. when you're not open that can help answer their questions. The other thing that is a big discussion that I have, and kind of going back to transparency that you mentioned earlier, is I believe when you're going to use those bots, it's important to let your customer know that they're talking to an AI bot. And really for two reasons. One, I just believe it's the right thing to do. But secondarily, studies have shown that a customer, if you tell it you're talking to an AI bot, their expectations of perfection drop, believe it or not. They're happy about the immediacy, but they're much more flexible, I guess, if the AI bot messes up. If they think they're talking to a human, though, and then they find they're talking to AI, now you've burnt some trust, and they feel like they've been
Mm-hmm.
deceived. So if you want to do that, I'm a big proponent of making it very clear that this is an AI bot. And I don't think there's any downside to it.
No, absolutely not. And I do agree with your point saying, with the AI agents or bots on site, there has to be a lot of baking involved to kind of humanize it as much as
Yes.
possible, but yet be transparent with the simple fact that it is an AI agent. And I think that it's going to be the expectation in a matter of maybe a year or two when people are going to go to a website and expect there to be some sort of a customized GPT AI agent that's a specialist on the brand
Precisely.
living on the
Yes.
website. I think it's
Yeah.
still in its infancy. I don't think people are there yet. People are still not sure if it's AI or not in a lot of cases, but I think it's going to be the expectation.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, again, we have the attention span of a gnat, and I do as well. So I'm not picking on anybody. And I don't care whether it's 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. If I want an answer, I want to be able to get it now. And knowing that AI could do that if the business has set it up changes what my expectations are.
Timu, I think, has done an excellent job of this. I bought an umbrella, a beach umbrella off of Timu, and it was like my first experience with Timu. And it got shipped to me, and it had a crack in the top of it. I was like, oh, damn. Okay, well, I don't want to have to send this back to China. So I ended up going online, talking to its bot, and it essentially gave me the option very simply. Do you want a refund or a credit? I said, I'll take the credit, which I can get immediately. And then it said, okay, all right, did you want to return the broken umbrella? I said, well, it's still usable. I'm going to keep it. It's like, okay, perfect. Here's your refund. I didn't have to speak to a human the entire time, nor did I have to send a photo in. Nothing like that. It was
And
just,
think
it
of
was
the amount of time that Timu saved. Even if somebody takes advantage of it, the amount of time that was saved and the labor that was saved by that, they ended up with a happier customer, and they ended up with a solution resolved, and absolutely saved them money on the customer service side.
I'm sure there's some sort of a trigger. If I keep asking for free umbrellas, I'm going to get flagged.
Probably, yeah.
But it was just such a seamless experience, and a human being was not needed, which was pretty nice. It was pretty nice. And I mean, I think you and I are both of the expectation where we understand the efficiency of what AI can be, but I think it's still a big hump that we need to overcome in terms of the mass adoption, right?
No question. No question.
So it's talking about blogging, okay, because you have a background in agency.
Mhm.
At what point do you, because obviously there's concerns, you had the helpful content update, you have all these Google updates, and we at least noticed in our agency, because we tested on some of our own sites AI content, and months back these sites that we were testing on got absolutely hit with the AI generated content. Where do you see it now with using ChatGPT content for blogs, and how do you foresee that playing out with Google in the months to come?
Well, Google's in the AI game. They may not be doing a great job of it, my personal opinion only at this point in time, but they're in the AI game. So I don't believe they're ever going to penalize AI content purely for being written by AI. They're on record, most of their executives are on record saying they're not going to do it. Whether we believe them or not, who knows? But just factually, I look at them as a company and go, it wouldn't make sense to block it just because it's AI. I do think that a lot of what was happening early on, and I was guilty of it too, is, I'd be able to pound out 20 blog posts in an hour with ChatGPT and go, these are pretty good. The problem is they were pretty good. They weren't great. They weren't awesome. And so I think what we're seeing now is a beginning pivot where we still are using AI to assist us, to collaborate with in the process, but we're not getting rid of the human in the process. And up front, a lot of times we were just getting rid of the human and going, oh, you know what? We don't need them. We can create that. And so I think we're ultimately going to see a higher level of content come out, but I believe it's going to be what I would refer to as AI assisted as opposed to AI created, because it'll be a human AI collaboration. And I don't think that Google or any other search engine is going to care about that. Probably the biggest shift that I think is going to happen is I don't have the numbers, but I believe just based on when I'm speaking, a lot of times I'll have people raise their hand and it's, how many of you use ChatGPT to do a search? And every hand in the room goes up. And how many of you have stopped using Google on a daily basis? And most of those hands stay up. And that tells me that the search itself is going to change a bit. And we know ChatGPT is not going to penalize you for using ChatGPT to write content. Perplexity is not going to penalize you for that. So I don't think the penalty for AI written content, if it exists, is going to exist in the future, nor that it'll change. I do absolutely, though, think that quality will become imperative, because just like in every industry, when there's a lot of something, quality tends to rise to the top very quickly and will get far more attention than anybody else.
Now, when we're talking about other AI platforms such as DeepSeek, DeepSeek, and I did a comparison. I was curious. I did a comparison the other day. I asked DeepSeek what its competitive advantage was versus ChatGPT, and I did vice versa, just to see what kind of output you would get. Maybe for give me your take on what you see as the big difference between the two platforms, and in what use case applies to what type of person.
I think with DeepSeek coming out, there's a lot of questions about security and privacy and everything else. And I actually just did an opinion piece that my video editor is finishing up for me today. Hopefully, it'll go out this afternoon, about my belief when it comes to that is that the models they're going to continue to jockey essentially for first place, almost like a horse race. You're going to see whoever's the latest is probably going to be slightly ahead of everybody else. Instead of trying to always make sure you're riding the leading horse, pick the one that you believe is going to work well and stick with them. That's going to serve you better. Because the reality is, whether I'm using DeepSeek or Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini, with maybe the exception of Gemini, because I'm not a fan, but the reality is it's probably not going to really impact the results I get significantly. Do I like DeepSeek? I'm very intrigued by it. I've tried it. I've used it. Are there privacy concerns? 100%. Is it a censored platform? Yeah, it's in the communist, Chinese, or the communist nation of China. Absolutely. You want to ask about Tiananmen Square, regardless of what actually happened, you're only going to get one story, the story that the government wants you to hear. But at that same point, you know what? Have you tried asking questions of certain things of ChatGPT or of Google or of Claude? You've probably run into the fact that, they won't answer everything for you either. So all the platforms have some of that in there. And I think, we're adults. We just need to understand there's some things we probably shouldn't upload to AI, like our tax returns and our tax numbers and those types of things. At the same point, am I worried about anybody in the world, for that matter, understanding what my drip campaign is that I designed for the people that I spoke to yesterday? No, in fact, I hope they all know about it, because I want them to have that. So I'm not worried about anybody or any government getting access to that they're going to be able to do anything nefarious with it. But I do think it's a balance, and it's one we need to take our eyes and be aware of. As far as the best platform, like I said, I think, at least if we take a look at Claude, we take a look at ChatGPT, and we take a look at DeepSeek, those three platforms are very close. Are there use cases where one is better than the other? There certainly are. There's another Chinese tool that just came out called Kimi, Kimi. I've been playing around with that today. It seems to be doing an excellent job as well. So I think the goal there is find a platform you're comfortable with that's by a major player. And for your day-to-day chat usage, let's pick one and stick with it. And don't worry about, oh my goodness, is this one better? Is that one better? The end of the day, competition drives innovation, and none of us are likely to get left in the dust.
It's a pretty interesting time to launch DeepSeek at around the same time TikTok gets banned. Just saying.
It's all right. I was just talking to a peer this morning, and I said, the irony is, and I run a large Facebook group, and we've got about 300,000 people in there, and there's all kinds of stuff about DeepSeek now, and it's two sides. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you'd use it, or why wouldn't you use it? And part of the irony to me is that some of the same people that are really upset about the people using DeepSeek and it being promoted are the same people that were complaining a week and a half ago when TikTok got banned in the United States. And I'm like, hang on, you were using TikTok and CapCut and you didn't worry. Now you're worried about DeepSeek. I get it, but it's, I think oftentimes emotions get the better of us as opposed to logic in situations like that.
So for yourself, I mean, it makes total sense to sell your previous agencies. You can obviously focus all your time and attention on just AI and going deep on that, right? So maybe just touch on the process. What was that like selling your agency?
Well, for me, I didn't have a lot to do with it. So my wife and I had built the agency with a team of about 15. So it was great. When I was able to step away, I was at a point where I was really becoming the bottleneck to a lot of things anyway. And so it was a good time for me to step away. And it worked out really well. And I dove headfirst into my AI stuff at that point. And my wife took she was chief operating officer and CEO anyway. So it was a natural thing. She just kind of continued in that. And on many days was probably happy I wasn't there making her life miserable anymore. And then she decided after almost a year that, maybe I don't want to do this the rest of my life either, speaking for herself. And we were in a position where one of the coaching groups that we were in, another agency in there, approached us and said, hey, just curious, do you guys ever consider selling? And we're like, well, of course, that's why we're building it, is to do that at some point. And, I'd love to say we did a, 8-figure exit and everything was great. No, we didn't, but it was a fair deal for everybody. It was a good spot to be in. And I think everybody won in the process. Our team was all able to keep their jobs and move over to the new agency, which was great. Our clients got great taken care of, and it allowed my wife and I both to say, all right, that chapter is going to close and we're going to move on to the next.
Do you find the traditional digital marketing agency will become a dinosaur in the years to come? If
No.
you're looking your crystal ball.
No, I don't.
What's the value? What's the value prop?
People don't want to do it. I look at one of the big things we did for years was web design. When we actually started as a web design company. And, then shortly after we started, WordPress got really popular and people like, you know what, nobody's ever going to pay anybody to design websites anymore because you can do it so fast in WordPress. And then tools like Divi and Elementor and other tools like that, Beaver Builder came out, and like, nobody's ever going to pay anybody to build a website in WordPress because it's so easy to do in all these tools. I get all of that. At the same point in time, I now am on the client side because I don't have the agency any longer. And I employ the agency that my wife sold this past summer and pay them money every single month to manage my website, to keep it updated, to make updates for me. I'm capable of doing all of that. I mean, goodness, I founded the agency that did it 15 years ago. I don't have the time or the desire to do it anymore. It's better just to pay them to do it because they're doing it every day. I'm no longer doing it every day. And I don't think that's ever going to change. I think that most business owners are going to look at it and go, I need somebody that understands my business and that understands the digital marketing side and can take care of it for me. Will there be people that go, hey, I don't need you to do my social media because I can use AI? Yeah, there will be. But there's going to be more people that are like, I need to do a better job on my social media presence. And you seem to get chiropractors. Can you help me do that? So I actually think the opportunities are going to continue to increase. And I think the value prop is really simple. As entrepreneurs, as business owners, as business leaders, again, we're in that standard case where there's more to do every day than there's time to do it. And we don't want to do one-off work. It's not efficient for me as an entrepreneur and a business owner to do something once a month if I can pay somebody else to do it. It's better for me to do what I'm good at, make money at it. And, it's the same reason I don't cut my yard. I have a lawnmower sitting in my garage. I can cut my yard. It's not a hard thing to do, but I'd rather pay somebody $40 a week US to cut my lawn, because he does it in 30 minutes. It would take me 2 hours because I have a much smaller mower, and it's not worth the 2 hours of my time, even if I choose to sit on the sofa and watch Netflix while he's mowing my lawn, because it's time that I'm able to bring back into my life.
You just gave hope to all digital marketing agencies out there that were thinking of throwing in the towel.
Oh, no. In fact, if anything, I think the opportunity for agencies is now to embrace AI and become the leading AI digital marketing agency, because we're seeing clients starting to go, we don't want to do all this, but we want to make sure that our agency knows how to use AI so that they can bring more value, so that they can leverage it. And the irony is they're not necessarily, these clients aren't thinking it's going to slash their bill and they're going to spend half as much on marketing, but they are thinking they're going to get 20% more value. And if you can be that agency that can figure out how you can bring them an extra 10, 20, 30% more value, by the way, as an agency, you can do that with fewer hours than you were doing it a year ago. You can become that agency that everybody wants to work with, because you're demonstrating that expertise and you're showing something that people want. There will be plenty of agencies that are going to go, no, we're not going AI. They may get displaced. But that agency that embraces it and says, here's how we're going to bring more value to the client, while at the same time protecting our profit margins, maybe even improving them, making our team life better, those agencies, I'm absolutely convinced, are going to thrive.
I believe so. Also, those agencies are that human touch that has that human oversight over the AI, which, as we talked about,
100%.
critical. Yeah. Awesome. Jonathan, if our audience has any questions for you, if you have a place they can go to get a freebie or anything like that, where can they go?
Easiest is just remember my name. It's jonathanmast.com/linktree, or our agency or my coaching business is called White Beard Strategies. No big surprise where maybe I got that from. You can go to either website, and we've got lots of resources and information, and a lot of it's free. So I encourage you, reach out. We'd be happy to help any way we can.
You never have to ask yourself the question, should I shave? Should I not? You never can shave again.
I know that. Yeah. My granddaughter's very happy about that, by the way. So we've had that discussion. She's 7 and she loves to still, touch the beard and run her fingers through it. And as grandpa, it makes my day. So yeah, with the beard's not going anywhere.
Awesome. Jonathan, thanks for your time.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Hey, thank you, podcast listener, for checking out that episode of Drop the Mic. If you like that episode, I would love it if you went on over to your podcast platform and left us a 5-star review. And if you don't want to miss an upcoming episode of Drop the Mic, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. Thanks again. We'll see you soon.